In ancient history, a war between the newly created races of Toril and the forces of Hell left humanity nearly extinct. In the post-cataclysmic world, humans placed themselves above all others, while races deemed undesirable watched from below. Ferox, a newly created race intertwined with beast and elf, were regarded to be even more monstrous and were forced into servitude. During the war, the gods and goddesses gifted unique arcane artifacts to those fighting against the Hells. These items turned the tides of war and brought forth brand new schools of magic in the form of the mage class. Alas, magic and hope fade from a world on the brink of destruction. Our hope now lends itself to a select and unlucky few.
Hello, good evening, and welcome back to The Unlucky Few. Tonight, oh wait, nope, wrong setting. So, as you can see, a little bit of different kind of video. I'm sitting here by myself, which is a little odd. But we also didn't post a video this Wednesday, which is also a little odd. So something not that cool happened. None of us had the Twitch open, which is our fault for the video this week. And so we didn't notice that there was no audio the entire time. Literally none. There was no music, there were no voices, there was nothing. And we want to make the video of it, there was still none of that. So we can't just post something with absolutely no audio. So instead, I'm going to give you a recap of what happened. Cause like, fucking man, dude, like, if there was an episode for us to not have this happen on, like, this is a 4.5-hour boss battle banger. Like, emotional roller coaster, it had laughs, it had tears, it had PC deaths. Like, goddamn, was this a bad video for this to happen on, like, Jesus. But it did. So of course, we started off by me giving a recap of last week's, 2 weeks ago episode. They were traveling up through the mountain pass. They got assaulted by a young Remoraz. They managed to fend it off, but not before it chumped Syl's horse in two. All things considered though, they got out of the fight relatively unscathed. They managed to wind their way through caves and caverns until they reached the lair of one Chernabog, one of the leaders of the guild. Specifically, they reached the Necrophage Crystarium, where he does a lot of his experiments. That is where we kind of cut off 2 weeks ago. Where we picked up last week was I brought them in, everyone rolled for initiative, I rolled really high for all the enemies. I think all the allies rolled high too. I think it was something crazy. Like I think of the enemies and the PCs, I believe the lowest initiative rolled was an 18. Might have been a 19, but I think it was an 18. Combat started off pretty screwy because T started, immediately got drawn into Monster Gruff construct and was just like threw herself on top of him and was like, no, I still love you, come back to me, I'm not going to fight you. And so that was pretty much like the entire tank aspect of the party just refusing to fight in the whole battle, so that definitely made things a little interesting. The rest of the party was like, well, guess it's just us now, and they gathered up on the bridge, getting ready to like pick some people off. And once they gathered up all real nice and tight, like right on that bridge, like really grouped themselves together, the main boss of the fight was just like, ooh, that's interesting, fireball, and just fucking roasted their asses. Afterwards, they decided that maybe clumping together was not the best strategy. So a few of them, I believe Arwen and Fen kind of skirted around a little bit, and Colette all made their way kind of down to the bottom to fight some people. Started kind of picking a fight with like the Chained Angel, like the big bad. While Colette also worked to free Rose Lily, and successfully did with a good use of the knock spell. Aside from that, T did her best to hang on to the gruff construct, but was eventually thrown off. And then she kind of like immediately did like a full 180, baby, and sprinted off after the chained angel as well. It was a really good strategy, except for the fact that it left their two squishiest members, being Kai and Syl, to basically 2-on-2 the other two bosses. And the two of them just got absolutely curb stomped. Maddie's doing wings at me. Riv was up there too. And since Riv was up there, that changes everything because the two of them still got absolutely curb stomped. Syl went down, and then Kai went down, and then Fen went down, and then Riv went down, and then Syl just fucking died. Like, no more death saving throws, no nothing. He was just fucking gone. They finally managed to kill one of the first, like, sub-bosses, and then they managed to finish the Chained Angel, which was, like, pretty cool. Arwen, like, came in like a fucking hero and just, like, ripped one of its wings off with their dagger and just fucking threw it across the ground and just fucking gutted them, and it was super epic. Yeah, basically the only 3 people left in the fight were Colette, who was moderately injured at the time, T, who was like almost bloodied, and Arwen, who was a little beat up as well. Colette managed to enthrall the gruff construct, drawing it away from the party so that Arwen could go up and shove a potion down Kai's throat. And then once Kai was conscious, he was able to mass healing word the rest of the party back up, aside from Syl, because, you know, Syl was fucking dead, and the only cure for that is, I don't know, less dead. More cowbell.
Necromancy.
Colette kind of like drug the figure off, and then she was like, it's you and me now, kid. I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then T threw herself back on top of the gruff figure, even though she had just watched it murder some of her friends, and was like, I don't care, I still love you. Come on, I know you're in there. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Then like a really emotional scene happened with Rose Lily. Rose Lily, like, T kept the entire time being like, go, like, run away, you shouldn't be here, get out of here. And Rose Lily is like a little version of T though, so she's like really stubborn and doesn't listen when people tell her to do things that are for her own good. And so she was just like, firebolt, witch bolt, and she was just like fucking shit up. But she started hitting the gruff, and she was like, Mom, it's not him. And it was like fucking real intense, and everyone got a little misty-eyed there. It was like definitely pulling them heartstrings just a little bit, which was nice. But anyway, T was like, did one last effort to try and like reach out to Gruff. It didn't work. Gruff just tore into Colette, and Colette's now standing there about to die. And then we finally get back around to T's turn, and T's like, well, guess I have to be the one to do it. And she took her fucking staff that I think had like, is like a, was it a present from him, or was it like a, it had like something engraved though on it, on the base. And she brought it up, and as she went to stab down, she rolled a nat fucking 1 and just like, whoop! But she has multi-attack, so it was fine, because she rolled like an 18 to hit the next time and just like, and killed him. He starts like folding down into ashes and shit. Lumina's like still like sliding down the wall, fucking impaled and shit. Rose Lily rushes over. Colette kind of falls backwards because she's feeling like real bad. Syl's still dead somewhere on the 2nd floor. People kind of stopped paying attention to that shit by now. As T is sitting there and just wallowing in all of the feelings that she has been repressing for her entire life, she gets like one final conversation with Gruff, which is where, you know, Maddie started crying, and I started crying, and then Audie started crying, and I'm pretty sure Ash started crying. It was just like, nope, that's not an appropriate joke to make right now.
Pat was dead.
Yeah, Pat is still dead. But yeah, so Gruff was just like, thanked her for doing that. Made like a corny sort of line like, hi, I bet Noelle 10 gold coins that you were gonna come and save me eventually. And then he asked her as his very last words, as a favor to him, to make sure that she took care of Rose Lily. And with that, he faded into ash, faded into nothingness, and whatever bit of his consciousness or spirit remained in the place vanished, as his body had long since done. After that, of course, we're going to get to the most important part, and that is looting everything. Fen and Arwen head downstairs, and they're like, wonder what's going on down here, and they find a bunch of empty jail cells. And then they look over to one, and they see Prowler there, which is good, because that's the other person that was taken from the monastery, T's monastery. So she gets to save another one of her people from her backstory. So that's, you know, Lumina saved, Rose Lily saved, Prowler saved. All in all, maybe a successful mission. They turn around, who do they see? They see Girder. She's relatively unharmed, and so Fen gets a reunion with her. No Cinderon though, so that was like a little awkward. So they head further downstairs, and they find the special secret office place of, of Chernabog, and as they're going through the papers, they see like all the notes taken on everybody and the beginnings of the outlining of the process of how exactly he managed to take a person and twist them into what he was twisting these creatures, monstrosities, constructs, whatever they are into, through a combination of some sort of foul arcane magics and necromancy. And what they find is they apparently had plans for Cinderon to turn him into something, and he said deceased during travel, and so deceased means dead. So if they're telling the truth, then Cinderon is somewhere in between Baldur's Gate and here doing his best Syl impression, so it's sorry. They came back upstairs. Fen was a little bit shaken. We get to the last thing that happened during the night, which was Kai doing his best to make Syl maybe just a little less dead. He did just learn Revivify, which was great, because also with Revivify, he completely forgot to ask me to buy diamonds when he was in Baldur's Gate, so we couldn't fucking use it. But what he did have was the reincarnation powder. For those of you who know reincarnation, it can sometimes have some pretty weird effects when it brings you back to life. And so he took the powder and he spread it all over Syl like it was, you know, Syl was a fucking casino table in the 1970s and the powder was, never mind. So, can we use that? Or are we using that?
People can draw their own assumptions about what you're playing cards, casino tables, that makes sense.
So anyway, Kai was spreading this all over Syl and just like trying his best to like do this ritual, and after an hour spent doing that, it went through, and then I turned to Pat and I was like, does Syl's soul return to his body? And Pat said, and Kai gave him that look of like, you just made me fucking pray over you for an hour and you don't even know if you want to come back, you little bitch. And then Syl was like, I guess. And he came back, but in a slightly different form. He did not come back as a half-elf. For one, he shrunk about 8 inches, so he is all of about 5'2" now, which is going to be great. A little bit more androgynous looking. A lot a bit more androgynous looking, but still the man that we all know and love. But also had his race changed from a half-elf to a Vulpine Ferox, so a Fox Ferox. Which, honestly, that could not have gone better for how I had previously written pieces of his backstory, because this is just gonna make shit absolutely hit the fan as soon as he gets back now. Everyone gathered together, feeling pretty tired, feeling pretty hurt. Colette's shield still slightly, her buckler still slightly glowing mysteriously on the ground over near where she got her arm shattered. She couldn't really pick it back up because, you know, her arm was shattered, but no one paid attention to it, so hey, that's good. Lumina and T kind of had a little bit of a falling out because T was like, how can I trust you? And Lumina was like, how can I trust myself? And then the two of them just kind of like lesbianed away from each other. So yeah, that is about where we ended it. There's kind of like a bloody cuddle puddle on the ground right now. Everyone will be feeling better by the morning because that's how long rests and the restoration of hit points work. And yeah, that is where we'll be picking up on Saturday. Don't think I left too much out. Honestly, I think I might have done an even better job than us live could have. Goodbye, I'll see you on Saturday, unless this video gets posted on Saturday, in which case I'll see you later today, unless it gets posted on Friday, in which case I'll see you tomorrow, unless it gets posted on Sunday, in which case I already saw you.
No, it'll be posted by Saturday.
Okay, it'll be posted by Saturday, never mind.